Good morning and welcome, listeners. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 AM and 98.1 FM. This is SCVi Charter Schools, Our Way on the Highway. And my name is Amber Raskin, founder and CEO of SCVi Charter and iLead Schools. I want to thank you for listening and let you know that you are in for a treat today. We have some great guests for today's show. First, we will be hearing from Renee Marshall of College of the Canyons, and later in the show, we will be talking with three young entrepreneurial scientists from SCVi. First, let's welcome Renee. Welcome, and thank you for being here today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Can you please tell us about your role at College of the Canyons?
Absolutely. I actually have just recently stepped back from College of the Canyons. I worked there for the last 14 years in a variety of roles on campus. I served as a faculty member, I served as a director, and I helped people become teachers in our community. And even though I have stepped away from College of the Canyons, I've created an education consulting company, and I'm actually still working with COC on their MakerSpace festival that's coming up, and it's quite an exciting event.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to hear more about that. First, let me ask you about the teachers. I know we've hired a few people that came from your program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. The Teach program at College of the Canyons is run by Gina Peterson currently, and it's a fantastic program where basically we're looking to train anybody in Santa Clarita or any of our neighboring areas if they're interested in joining the education system, either as a teacher, counselor, administrator, school psychologist, or speech pathologist, basically anything in the realm of education. And the program has classes, workshops, and all sorts of free resources for anyone who's interested in teaching. And I'm very proud to say that quite a few of our College of the Canyons Teach program students are working with the SCVi and iLead schools.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful, wonderful thing in partnership. Thank you for all that you've done to make that thrive and successful in the community and nurturing our teachers. That's so important.
Thank you,
really
Amber. I think I will continue to stay in teacher preparation in some version moving forward, so I'm excited.
It's really one of the most important things we do as a society and community.
That is the truth.
Can you talk to us also about the MakerSpace?
Oh, I love the MakerSpace we have at College of the Canyons. We're so lucky, too, because we actually have a MakerSpace located on our Valencia campus, and we have one located on our Canyon Country campus. And so during the week, students and faculty and anybody who's a staff member can utilize the MakerSpaces on both campuses. And then at our Valencia campus, every Friday and Saturday, it actually opens to anybody in our community that's interested. And so say you've got, a 14-year-old who's really interested in tinkering and maybe they love to solder or something like that. Well, you as a parent could bring them in and they could check out all the different types of machines that we have. Actually, this weekend we have, or this Saturday, we have a field trip from SCVi coming in, and the students are going to engage in 3 different mini workshops. So they'll be looking at laser cutting, they'll be looking at a 3D demonstration, and I'm trying to remember the last one and it's escaping me right now, but I know it'll be exciting and hands-on, and most importantly, we want the space to be something that the community utilizes. And so we love that not only SCVi teachers and staff are going to be there, but that the students are coming here because they're really the next generation of makers, and we want to make sure that we're nurturing anybody who's interested in the maker movement.
I'm getting a cue from off camera that the third thing was soldering.
Thank you, soldering, which I love because soldering is something that's a really, really basic skill. I'm 45 years old and I just learned how to do it last year. And so there's so many ways that you can fix stuff around your house, and it's just practical. So whether the kids that go on this field trip end up becoming makers and engineers and this next generation, or maybe they just end up knowing how to fix stuff around their house. It's totally practical.
My dad was like that. When I was younger, my dad had he had a workshop in his bedroom in the closet. He took the closet doors off and he put a workbench there. And I remember his soldering gun. It was one of those aqua blue soldering guns, which were really big back in the 60s and 70s when I was growing up. And that color aqua blue was so popular. And I remember, and he used it for everything.
Yes.
He would use that was his number one staple tool, was the soldering gun.
I think when people are makers, they're almost like makers at heart. And I love that you gave the example of your dad and the bedroom, because I moved in my most recent house about 8 years ago, and I have this fantastic walk-in closet, and it's almost so big it's kind of like obscene. You know what I mean? It's just so big. And so the moment I walked in it, I was like, oh, craft room, I'm making my own makerspace. Yeah. So I literally had I put like a bench and everything in my own walk-in closet. So
Yeah.
that way I have that space.
Yeah.
And so I love that you're talking about your dad doing something similar.
Well, that's something that goes near and dear to my heart, because tinkering and being curious and investigating is so critical. And actually, when I've talked to my husband early on, he's always been really handy around the house too. I've always said that that's one thing that helps our marriage, because he can fix things. And me being crafty and doing
Absolutely.
stuff, like being able to do a few things around the house, it helps you so much in life. It doesn't matter what your career is.
Absolutely. I was actually speaking at a conference in December, on a conference on equity, and we were talking about STEAM and Maker and when do you start? And my biggest point was, you start at birth. People should be making from the time that they're very, very little, and tinkering and your Legos and your Connects and your Lincoln Logs and Tinker Toys, and start it early. Maybe it turns into a career path. Maybe not. Maybe you just have some very good concrete skills that you can use throughout your life.
Yeah, again, making is very near and dear to my heart, and also really infused in our schools. And in one of our schools, we have a maker wall where we're honoring the makers in history in that region. And coming up with all of the different ways to be a maker was really interesting. Like even being a lawmaker, or even there's so many things that you can do that all involve making things. And whether it's with your hands or with your brain or both, which is usually what it is, it's just something that obviously we both care a lot about fostering in the next generation, because I think that it was a natural thing back generations ago, but now it somehow doesn't feel as infused, right?
Well, our education system has kind of moved away from, I shouldn't say that right now, but years ago, our education system moved away from vocational education and career education. And thank goodness we have seen a huge push, not just, locally, but also at a statewide and national level, where our policymakers are saying, wait a second, we need engineers. We need people who can manufacture. We need people who have these skill sets. And if we don't have career education embedded from very early on, this is not something you just do in high school or you just do in college. From the moment you step in the system, you should have an opportunity to explore and to figure out what you're going to be good at and what you can do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And whether that's a college degree or whatever it is, or maybe it's a certificate or whatever it is, we want to help people be productive members of society where they're doing something that they love. It inspires creativity. It helps us to be problem solvers. When we're talking about 21st century learning, being a tinkerer or being a maker is really at the core of when you're looking at what that means for 21st century technology and 21st century learning.
Yeah, that's such a big thing too, that people talk often about creativity, and I think until recently, when people thought of creativity, they just thought of painting, being a visual artist, right? Just painting or something like that. And I think there's a movement now, and we've been talking about it for at least a decade at SCVi and I Lead, is that creativity is about problem solving. Creativity is about what you bring to any position, how you can look at solving any kind of problem with out-of-the-box solutions, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And our makerspaces, whether they're at SCVi or the I-Lead schools or at College of the Canyons or at Glendale Community College or Moore Park, wherever we have these makerspaces, they're intended to be places where people can go and figure stuff out. You get access to technologies, you get access to leaders in the field who can facilitate and help you if you need any help or if you need any scaffolding. You basically are able to design, prototype, and create manufactured pieces at any of these places if you'd like to go. And right now, the College of the Canyons one, there's no fee. So you just walk in for community hours, and there are people on the spot every Friday and Saturday from 10 to 4 that can help you with anything that you're interested in. Woodworking, lasers, you name it, College of the Canyons, MakerSpace has it.
That was going to be my next question, is what are the hours? And it's open to adults and students.
Yes, it is. Though at this time, we are limited with the age range of the children that could come. So for instance, like I have twins that are in junior high, I can go if I'm with them. But like if they had a 7-year-old sibling, that younger child is not able to come. And it's just about liability and making sure that everything we have is safe for every age. So but we're so excited to start bringing field trips and to start bringing larger groups of children. And one of the things, too, with our upcoming Makerspace Festival that we'll be talking about later, that is such an opportunity to bring your children, bring your families, bring anybody you know to come to College of the Canyons to see what the Makerspace movement is and what the festival is all about.
What will they be doing at the MakerSpace Festival?
Oh my gosh, we have so much planned at the MakerSpace Festival right now. There's a ton of different groups coming, first of all, and all sorts of groups. You've got K through 12, you've got community colleges, higher education, you've got industry, you have got all sorts of even small groups of makers. I was in the San Fernando Valley a few weeks ago, and I met this whole tribe of different makers that have all these different skills. And so I invited them all. So I'm hoping that we'll see some people doing woodworking and leather crafting and painting and silk painting and just all sorts of different ways of making. There's going to be hands-on STEAM activities, so not just STEM, but STEAM. We're going to have free
What's
workshops. STEAM is science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. And so basically, we want to make sure that we include art within technology and STEM in the future, because we see that art is not only a passion for many, but it's a career and it's a feasible way to bring wholeness to your life. And so I want to promote the arts because I think it's a good thing for everybody.
One of the things that I noticed was, so we do a lot with NASA. We'll be talking about that in the next segment. But when we do, because my son has a particular interest in NASA, we've been to a lot of NASA facilities. And one of the things that I notice when we go to them is how intertwined art is there, because the art and outreach and communications, NASA understands so well that that there's so much more to than just doing something. Mm-hmm. You also have to communicate about it, and you also have to get people engaged with it. So they do these beautiful videos, these beautiful images. It's just such this natural connection that they get so intrinsically and inherently, they automatically weave it into everything. To me, that is what speaks STEAM instead of STEM, because the arts being in there is such a critical component.
How wonderful to see that model too, because that's exactly what we're trying to do even within our education systems, where we're trying to realize that this is a whole package and there's just not one piece of it that's of value. And so I love that you mentioned the design within NASA, because that's not something that people think about right away. You just think about, I'm going to build rockets. And there's so much more. And so having these events and having these partnerships and these opportunities kind of unpackages what the possibilities are. And that's what I think is so exciting about it.
It also makes me think of the career paths you were talking about. So that's another thing that matters. You know, we focus on a lot at iLead and SCVi, is that there are the vocational paths, and then there's the other paths that are more academic. And what we think, just like STEAM and arts need to be married, or STEM and arts need to be married, so do the vocational and the academic. You need a little bit of both for everything you do.
Absolutely. And so many people think that it's really like it's two pathways, and it shouldn't be.
Right.
Because within every vocation, you have to have academic content as your foundation. And then within the academics, you also need to have a skill set where you can do more than just understand it. You need to have some tangible things that you can produce. And so it goes along with that.
Yeah. It's great stuff. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Do you have details about the event that you want to share?
Absolutely. The event is coming up on Saturday, March 23rd. It is from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. It is free. Let me say that again. It is free. There's going to be tons of different hands-on workshops and guest speakers, tons of different things for people of all ages to do, lots of STEAM-related activities. The event will be at the College of the Canyons Valencia campus on Saturday, March 23rd. It will run from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m., and we will have food trucks. Like I said, there's going to be lots of speakers, lots to do. When you on that day, just so you know, there are two events happening at College of the Canyons. Through our university center, they have the women's conference happening, but there will be overlap, like I mentioned. But the MakerSpace Festival will be basically, if you can get to the bookstore on campus, you will be able to find the MakerSpace Festival. It is going to be outside the student center, in between the student center and Canyons Hall. It's going to be in our gyms. It's going to be on the top part of the Honor Grove. Basically, look for lots of balloons and signs, and there'll be free parking. So come on and join us. And you don't have to come for the whole day. If you're able to come 10 to 3, I promise you and your family will have tons to do. But if you can pop over for an hour, parking is going to be relatively easy because, like I said, all the lots are open and all student lots are free, and you'll be able to come in for a wonderful hands-on day. You
mentioned that the women's conference is happening the same day.
Yes.
Are there any other partnerships that you're working with in the Makerspace or the event?
Actually, we're always working on partnerships within the Makerspace. For instance, like right now, we've got the NASA group, and they're working with the payload, and they just got approved to send up another experiment into space. And partnerships are something that we really value within the Makerspace. And we partner with all of our local libraries. We partner with the LA County Library. We are partnering with all sorts of groups in our town, like Geek Girls will be there, and the Hermit Club, and there's going to be all sorts of robotics groups and 3D demos. And I mean, it really should be a lot of fun. You will see so many different people at this event because we're just hosting it at College of the Canyons, but the Makerspace Festival is really a regional event for anyone in our community to be part of. And interestingly enough, within the community college system, our region spans from Antelope Valley all the way to San Luis Obispo.
Wow.
So you might even see some of our partners from Santa Maria coming, and so it should be a wonderful day. And like I said, totally free. If you're looking for something fun and engaging to do, it's for all ages, and I can guarantee you there will be something for everyone in your party to do.
That's terrific. Well, we're going to go to commercial break. You're going to stay with us for the next segment,
Absolutely.
right? Okay, great. And when we come back, we'll be hearing from some of the other students at SCVi that have been using their creative problem-solving skills that they've learned from the school and from makerspaces, because we do have several makeries on our campus, and we call them makeries there.
I love it.
And that we'll be hearing from them talking about something that they did in Israel. And I just have to point out that these three also have been involved in sending a payload,
excellent,
to the space station. They already did one last year, and we've done it a few cycles at SCVi and iLead schools, and they're working on another project for the following year.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear from them.
You can find before we leave, you can find updates on the Facebook page for the COC Makerspace. So if you forget any of the details, you can look it up there. And SCVi's workshop is coming up this coming Saturday. So that's an important thing for our listeners from SCVi to know, and any iLead schools, that they can be involved in that. There will be 3D printing, soldering, laser etching, and cutting. And that is from ages 12 and up from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Also, we still have some openings for the Makerspace Festival. If there's any local groups who would like to exhibit and get in touch with us, it's free. The only thing is we're not in a position where groups can sell their items at this point, but we would love for anyone to be involved who's interested, and they can go to www.socalmakerspacefestival.org, and that SoCal is like for Southern California, so it's www.socalmakerspacefestival.org.
And I guess we're having a booth there too, and which is going to be a flight simulator, which is part of our glider project that our 8th graders do. So that's pretty exciting.
Fantastic.
Okay, we're going to take a short break now, but stay tuned. When we come back, we will be talking with these amazing high schoolers here. One of them is particularly amazing to me because I have a connection to him. Mm-hmm. And you're listening to SCVi Charter Schools, Our Way on the Highway, and I am your host, Amber Raskin, and this is your hometown station, KHTS.
Live life juiced up at Juice It Up Valencia. Come in and try our great tasting smoothies, protein shakes, acai, and wheatgrass for your healthy lifestyle on the go. Also, enjoy our 10 flavors of tantalizing zinc frozen yogurt and selection of healthy toppings. Juice It Up Valencia is located at the corner of Newhall Ranch Road and Copper Hill Drive in the Office Depot Plaza. Open Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. and Sundays from 8 until 8. And remember to live life juiced up at Juice It Up Valencia.
Mission Valley Bank is a commercial bank in the Santa Clarita Valley that really puts the community into community banking.
At Mission Valley Bank, we strive to be a trusted advisor to our clients, and that means being an integral part of the communities we serve. We started the Give Where You Live program to help bring awareness to our nonprofit partners. We're more than just a local business bank. In fact, we're a full-service, independent commercial bank that is locally owned, community-minded, and relationship-driven. I'm Tamara Gurney, President and CEO of Mission Valley Bank, and I invite you to experience the Mission Valley Bank difference, where your success is our mission. We want to be your most valued bank.
Mission Valley Bank has been named Most Trusted Advisor Business Banker by the San Fernando Valley Business Journal 5 years in a row, and received the Business Leadership Award by the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce, Valley Industry Association, and SCVi Economic Development Corporation. Visit them at their Center Point branch location or at missionvalleybank.com. Member FDIC.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top-quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
Hi, I'm Miles McNamara, Certified Senior Advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers and Home Care. Our caregivers help you in your own home. A Comfort Keeper can provide companionship, meal preparation, medication monitoring, assistance with personal care, transportation to doctor appointments, all enhancing your independence and safety in the comfort and privacy of your own home. So if you or someone you love could use a helping hand at home, call Comfort Keepers at 287-4200. That's 287-4200.
Bob, I don't believe you.
You're jaded, Blanche.
Read my lips, Bob. You've had a history of exaggeration.
It's true. They're building Castaic High School.
Castaic High, like in Castaic, California.
That's right, Blanche.
Prove it, Bob.
Go to your computer, type in CastaicHighProject.com and get free and frequent updates.
What's that web address again?
CastaicHighProject.com.
With fervor, like you really mean it.
CastaicHighProject.com.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
Starting a landscape project? SCVi Water is available to help you from start to finish. At their free gardening classes, you'll learn planning, design, and budget, plant selection and care, irrigation and maintenance, sustainable landscape basics, and so much more. Visit yourscvwater.com for a schedule of free gardening classes. That's yourscvwater.com.
Hometown. I wanted to let you know that I really appreciate the way you guys do what you do.
Your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 on the AM dial and 98.1 FM. This is Amber Raskin, founder of SCVi and iLead Schools, and your host for Our Way on the Highway. Welcome back. Today, we have had a great show so far, learning all about the MakerSpace over at College of the Canyons with Renee Marshall and the upcoming MakerSpace Festival this weekend. This weekend, right?
March 23rd.
March 23rd. Okay, March 23rd.
The field trip
the
we have
field
this
trip
weekend.
Is this
There's
weekend.
always good stuff happening at the MakerSpace at COC.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now I would like to welcome 3 creative, entrepreneurial-minded young scientists from SCVi to join us. Braden Hall, Connor Raskin, and Adam Simpson. And on the phone, we have Kathleen Ferdette, iLead Schools Director of STEAM Initiatives. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having us.
We have hi Kathleen. We have you all here today to talk to us about something special that recently happened. It's the Space Science Accelerator program, and I think that there's some details that our audience would love to hear. Kathleen, could you tell us a little bit about what the Space Science Accelerator program is?
Absolutely. So the Science Accelerator project or program is international collaboration that we've entered into with some friends in Israel. So they've run this project already for a year, and the goal of this, or the high-level question that we're asking of young people, is what are the innovations or products that are needed to be able to colonize the moon and Mars? So we know NASA has the eyes on Mars, and we know that privatized space does as well. So what are the products and innovations we need. And we need the young people to develop the entrepreneurial skills and ideas that we can then send when we're there and 3D print. So we can't send it off in a rocket. We're going to have to make it when we get there. So we're engaging kids in a design challenge to come up with these ideas and then the business plan to support it.
So I know the answer to this, but but for our listeners, what does Israel have to do with it? Why are we involved with Israel?
Thanks for asking that. So our partner, who is Out of the Box, and that is created as a company created by Vered Cohen Barsley, and she started this project in Israel and has been running it in high schools there. It's connected to the Ministry of Education and also in partnership with Gibeah Time Observatory and NASA Ames. So they've already run the project there, and then they reached out through the chief scientist of NASA Ames to look for some schools in America that would want to run this project as well. Well, we were one of the ones that responded, and we were off to the races after that. And we've developed a partnership now to have our kids collaborate on these projects.
So by collaborate, you mean I know the three boys here, myself, you, we went to Israel last month. And you were saying we're collaborating in the future too? This was the beginning of something?
So this is our beta year. We call it a beta year when we're running a new project where we're trying to figure out how does this work and what are the moving pieces, what are the deliverables, what are the structures. So we had a small delegation went over there during Israel Space Week, which is put on by the Ramon Foundation. The Ramon Foundation over in Israel is the largest educational outreach for aviation and space. And so there, during Space Week, there's all sorts of events all over Israel happening in schools, and there's competitions and challenges connected, and this is one of them. So our team, who are right there, and you can hear from them in a moment, they went over and shared their idea with the other students that are involved in the project, high school students, and then we listened to their ideas as well. There's one other thing I'll add is that our goal is that we wouldn't have American kids working with just American kids and Israeli kids just working with Israeli kids. We really want our kids to partner in teams, and that's the next step that we're doing. The one other thing I'll add is that we also have a higher view of this, is that we're beta testing this with Israel and America with the goal of actually including other countries as well.
So I lead, the I in I lead, and also the I in SCVi stands for international. That sounds awfully international to me. That's exciting. And I know from being being CEO and founder of I Lead Schools and SCVi is that I'm personally very excited to see our international offerings expand. We only want to keep enhancing and growing them, and this is just yet another opportunity for international collaboration, international travel, both directions, having kids come to us and us going to kids. So that brings me to the next question, which is the three of you here in studio, you went to Israel, right? Have any of you ever been to Israel before?
No, we haven't. It was first for us.
And how was it? Can you each take a little piece of it and tell us a little bit about the trip and collaboration and the kids there?
Yeah, Connor, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. This is Connor. So I actually loved meeting other students there. We got to go to a high school for the day and walk around and go to classes with them, and experiencing their culture and students at the same grade as us was a lot of fun. We got to tour the whole school and interact with people there.
So what stood out to you, Adam?
Yeah. The main thing on top of their culture was just when we were actually getting into the projects, I noticed us in America had the same type of prompt for the project as they did, which was pretty much starting a business that we can use to further develop space. They saw it and took it in a completely different direction than we did, and it kind of opened up my eyes just to different opportunities and ways to look at the same thing, and it was really interesting just because it's just so different.
And what about you, Braden? What stood out to you there?
like what Connor said about the culture, just everything felt so Californian and the same. I mean, there's palm trees everywhere. It felt like a coastal city, a coastal town, except we were across the world, and everyone behaved super nice and exactly, they all seemed Americanized. It was extremely interesting with that.
Yeah, I remember when we walked into the high school, we were there, and can you tell us a little bit about the reception you got from the students when you first met them?
Yeah, they all just swarmed us, and they took us in instantly, introduced themselves, and just took us all around the school.
Yeah, it was funny because Kathleen and I were there also for the tour, and in really the span of 5 minutes, the kids took them and they were gone and in a classroom, and we were meeting with educators and going on our own tour of the school. So it was a very welcoming group, and I hear that they're going to be coming here. We're working on a trip for them to come to California.
Yeah, we are, and we hope to possibly take in some of them into our group and integrate some of our students.
Like host family kind of things?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I believe, Kathleen, we're working on perhaps going to NASA Ames with the whole group?
Yeah, so, this project is supported by the chief scientist of NASA Ames, and he's the one that connected us to Barrett in the first place. And so we're working in collaboration with him to really figure out how do we expand the horizons of the opportunities in science that are connected to this. And then when the kids come, we're hoping that their first delegation will be towards the end of May of this year, actually. And it's exciting because the Ministry of Science of Israel sees this as such a brilliant opportunity that they're underwriting quite a bit of that trip. And so one of our portions of the trip will be for our teams to go up to NASA Ames, and spend the day there. And that's brilliant.
And I think that we're looking to write grants to get other students from SCVi and other I-Lead schools to go to Israel every year now. So we're excited about that opportunity. I know that there are some students that I can thinking of one graduate in particular who her life was changed by being able to go to Israel. She went in college with her professor, but it really can be life-changing to travel at all. And then Israel, there's just such a great connection there that I'm looking forward to fostering. Go ahead,
I love
Renee.
this next generation because I got to be honest, I didn't do any international travel until I was in my 20s.
Oh, me either.
And my twins are 12 years old right now, and they both are on their second passports.
Yeah.
And I just love that you guys are embedding this within your school
Yeah.
and educational experience for kids.
Yeah.
A lot of times a child will feel like so thrilled if they get to go to DC during one time of their K through 12 experience. You guys have gone to Israel. I'm 45. I've never gone to Israel. So, I mean,
Pretty exciting.
what a wonderful opportunity. And it goes along with the innovation that the I-Lead schools and SCVi have really embedded at the core of the foundation of what your schools are and what your system is.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not just about, although we got to do some fun sightseeing while we were there, it's not just about the sightseeing or the tourism. It's about understanding other cultures. And one of the main focuses we have at I-Lead schools, all of our I-Lead schools in SCVi, is to teach empathy and understanding. And to me, I didn't get to travel internationally until I was an adult either. And to be able to travel, even if it is just tourist travel, you get to see things from a different perspective in a much different way. And so one time we had an international group touring SCVi, and they asked me, "What do you do that teaches that teaches empathy?" And actually they said, "What do you do that's international?" And I said, we teach people to get along with each other. That's a core focus at our schools, because teaching empathy, it doesn't matter what culture they're from, whether it's your neighbor or whether it's somebody across the world, you learn that by getting to know people. It's really hard to stay angry at somebody when you know them personally.
I love that you choose the word empathy, because in our education system, it's very traditional that we will talk about tolerance and tolerating other cultures. And for the 12 years that I was a professor of education and taught intro to teaching, I used to share the example of, I tolerate Brussels sprouts, I don't tolerate people. And so I love that you're choosing the word empathy as a foundation, because that's really bringing the next generation in the right way. Love it.
It's the key to the social emotional learning that we've been working on for a decade. And we are seeing more and more of those things that we started talking about a decade ago that are now becoming mainstream in education. And it's awesome. It makes us very proud. We try to remind people that we've been talking about it
for over 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, and your students are living it.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother thing. It's one thing to talk theory and to embed things in education. It's a whole nother thing to have 3 young men traveling to Israel to understand cultures and to make a difference.
Yeah, yeah. And so in the future, we by fundraising, you don't have to pay for it yourself. We are going to work together to get many more kids over there. We're excited about that future. I'd like to turn to something else a little bit. And of course I just lost my train of thought, but I want to hear about your project, about what you were doing. Oh, and this is what I was going to say is you were talking earlier, or we talked earlier about the glider, our simulator that's going to be at the MakerSpace, and the glider project that we do in 8th grade at our schools. So in the kickoff to that project, when they do a project entry, they talk about things to get to have kids motivated to keep going. Al Bowers from NASA Armstrong came and spoke to the kids, and we were there, right? You guys heard him talk about that. And he said, and you were all 3 were there for this part of it, I believe. He said that in your lifetime, there will be people on Mars. And so it's really fascinating to me because I don't think everybody understands that we are that close, even though we're hearing a lot more about it in the news and we're talking about that. I don't think people understand that. So when you guys came up with your pitch for the accelerator project, talk to us about that, about how you're thinking about Mars and going to Mars and what you did, and tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Well, I guess the main problem that we kind of thought about was just we need shelter, right? We need shelter we need it anywhere, but especially on Mars with everything that we face. So how can we do that efficiently? And so we really just started talking and researching, and we got to mushrooms. So Connor, do you kind of want to explain that more?
So we're actually using specifically mycelium, which is sort of like the base of the mushroom. It's almost like the roots, and you can actually grow those into bricks. And so our thought process is, well, why not take the materials to grow the bricks and grow them on Mars? They're lightweight, but they're stronger than concrete, and they'd be a really effective building material to colonize Mars.
And through our research, we found a few companies that are already actually doing this on Earth, and through that, we sort of been trying to connect with them and viewing their processes and what works and what doesn't work in order to further advance our project, as well as the people at NASA that are actually doing this with different types of resources and materials that we are trying to use, but they're still doing the same or doing something sort of similar, so we're trying to connect with them as well.
Yeah, and we kind of what we based our project on was just the fact that we want a solution, but a solution that is very efficient, and that if we are going to sell it, it can be cheap because pretty much you have the mushroom spores, and then a medium, and then you can use waste pretty much. So you can combine the few spores, the water, the waste, and the medium to make what we need. And that's all things that you'll probably bring up with you anyway. So that's kind of what our project revolves around, is the efficiency of this solution.
Amber, can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious how they came up with mushrooms, because the first thing I'd be thinking about is building materials and what current building materials are light enough. I wouldn't even be thinking mushrooms. So I'm just curious, how did your investigation get you there?
Well, actually, by researching, we discovered the companies that are working with mushrooms, and we found out about these mycelium bricks, and they fascinated us. So we got in contact with a mycologist named Kathleen Ferdette, and from there we just started working on our project and developing it.
Excellent.
And while looking through different materials to potentially bring to Mars, it's not even just the weight, it's the pure space that you have, and it's too expensive. But if we're able to bring a canister of thousands of spores, which don't weigh a whole lot, and growing them on the way in there, you're keeping the same amount of weight, but you're able to expand it. And then when you build the bricks, you can harvest the spores from the mushroom bricks, bake it to kill the spores, and use it in building. Then you still have the same amount of spores.
So I know from my connection to you guys that there is another project you were working on before the Israel opportunity came up, and that is our Dream Up project. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because that's how when you first started talking about this, and let me just point out one thing real quick before you answer, Adam or Connor or whoever wants to answer, that NASA has already done work around this, and there were several ideas given to them about some experiments that had already been underway. And so they looked at those that variety of projects, and they chose this one, knowing that there'd already been some testing done around it. And that's often something that happens in science, is that you go and validate research that's already been done, or you do a new spin on it. So they were taking it from that part. So, but can you guys tell us a little bit about Dream Up? Maybe you can even talk about Dream Up, the last year's and this year's.
So last year we participated in Dream Up 2018, in which we actually joined somebody else's project, which involved using coffee to kill bacteria in microgravity. So we went to Florida, we watched the launch, and that inspired us to work on a new project for the next year of Dream Up. And that's actually where we developed the idea for mycelium bricks.
Go ahead, Kath.
Real quickly and say that this is Kathleen. The boys were part of a larger team of learners that had applied to be part of what's called a launch team to send an experiment to space station that can be run by an astronaut. And it turns out that we just found out that particular experiment that they were involved in, the one that is connected to coffee, actually had a problem on the space station. And so great learning opportunity for us to understand that space experimentation is really tricky. And so we just have found out that we have a coffee experiment 2.0 to make, and that we'll be relaunching that experiment. And we have a lot of exciting growth and learning around the challenges that face us when we're learning about how are things behaving in space. So that's one thing. And then I'm just going to brag a little bit about this team. We just announced yesterday the 9 finalist teams for Dream Up to Space 2018-2019, and this particular team's idea, which is the one that they're discussing around mycelium, it's one of the 9 finalists. So next year in the fall, we'll have 3 experiments sent to space station, and the guys here are going to be vying for one of those 3 spots by creating a video to pitch their idea and also really shoring up their proposal. We'll have some NASA scientists and friends evaluating that, and so we'll see if these guys are one of our top 3 next year. I have great hopes for them.
Thank you.
We'll talk a little bit more about this when we come back from commercial. It's time for a short commercial break again. Stay tuned, though, because we'll be asking more exciting questions about this. You're listening to SCVi Charter Schools, Our Way on the Highway. I am your host, Amber Raskin, on your hometown station, KHTS.
Your building sign is essential in getting customers to your location. Feathers can help get your business noticed. They walk you through each phase of your building sign project, providing special attention to detail and quality. Feathers will give you a sign you can be proud of. Your building sign will draw customers in instead of having them drive by. Feathers on Soledad in Canyon Country, across from the Edwards Theater. Or go to feathersphoto.com. That's feathersphoto.com.
Hi, I'm Steve Cruz, and my wife and I own the local pub and grill. With 19 70-inch TVs, it's the best place in the valley to catch a game. We have a vast selection of beer, wine, and specialty cocktails to choose from, including our charity ale, where 10% of every pint we sell goes to Carousel Ranch. Our menu features classics with a flavorful twist. Come by for Taco Trivia Tuesdays at 7, Wines Day for bingo and karaoke starting at 8 p.m., and karaoke every Saturday at 9. Local pub and grill, right next to Bevmo on the Old Road. Support local, support community.
Hi, this is Wendy Hassenflug, yoga and wellness entrepreneur. I'm excited to share one of the best kept secrets in Santa Clarita. Top Out Climbing Gym is one of my favorite places. Rock climbing is exceptional for building upper and lower body strength, and it improves your flexibility. Almost anyone can rock climb, and you don't have to be super fit to climb. You'll build strength and stamina while having fun at the same time. Get over to Top Out Climbing Gym in Center Point and challenge yourself to new heights.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
If you
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 on the AM dial and FM at 98.1. This is Amber Raskin of SCVi Charter School and I Lead Schools, and I'm joined again in studio by Renee Marshall.
Previously of College of the Canyons.
Right.
It's so hard because after 14 years, it's like the first thing I want to say too.
Hard to not associate you
But
that way.
I'm a local educator and
Yes.
somebody who promotes education.
And a great partner to SCVi, by the way. You've been a supporter and a collaborator since before we were open, helped us get the charter written and approved, and so grateful for that.
Did you even imagine that project-based learning would be international
No.
when we sat down and, you know what I mean?
Amazing.
Like 12 years ago, thinking about what this school could be.
Never expected that. That's a whole other show.
That
we
really
can talk
is.
About, and we will. We will do that. And we also still have in studio Braden Hall, Adam Simpson, and Connor Raskin, who you can tell by the last name is somebody that's near and dear to my heart. As I love all of them, but the one that lives in my house, I particularly am fond of. And so we'd like to talk a little bit more about the Dream Up project. So we wanted to elaborate a little on that, and I think all of you had something to say about what Dream Up is and what the past and the future of Dream Up is.
Would you guys also share where it took place? Because I want to make sure, I'm thinking about myself, like, you guys were in Israel. Was Dream Up in Israel, or is that something that you did in California or in the U.S., or just give us all the info?
Yeah, please.
So with Dream Up, there are a lot of different teams that take part.
Let me just clarify. Dream Up is an I Lead project. It's created by Kathleen, and it's for all I Lead schools. So go ahead.
And let me just poke in for a second and say that the partnership with Dream Up, which is the sister company of NanoRacks. NanoRacks is a company that is called the payload integrator to International Space Station. So in essence, if you want to send something up to space, you have to get there. It then gets integrated, through NASA and SpaceX, and then it gets blasted up. So Dream Up is an educational partner. Their goal is to make science, space experimentation and science accessible to people. So this is our partnership through Dream Up.
Okay, now go, Adam.
Okay, so with Dream Up, we essentially create an idea, and it's something that we think needs to be tested in space. So we make like a science proposal, we make a project board, and then we present to different judges and different people involved in iLead. And I'm not entirely sure how many teams are initially a part of it, but
another connection to COC though that happened at
that
College
happened
of the
at
Canyons.
COC. So this year the three of us came up with our idea, the mycelium bricks, and we also presented that to Dream Up. And pretty much we want to test how mycelium grows in space. So we made the science proposal, which is why it's useful, and then exactly what we want to test, and then we present it. And pretty much out of all the groups that present, 3 are going to be able to go to the Kennedy Space Station in Florida, which is what we did last year with our coffee project. If we get selected again this year, we're going to get to do that again, and we're going to get to see our experiment go up to the International Space Station.
And so that's what we were doing in Florida last year, right? You
Yep.
want to talk about that a little bit, Connor? What
Yeah.
did you guys do in Florida? You went?
So we went and we got to present our coffee experiment, and we then went to the launch of the rocket. It was a SpaceX rocket, and went up, and it was supposed to be performed by an astronaut, although there is a mistake.
There were some kind of issues we're
Right.
hearing, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to do it again.
And so I love that you're saying it's our project, because it didn't start out your project, right?
Uh-huh.
Tell us about that. How did that journey happen? Because you guys didn't pitch coffee and have that selected.
So there was 2 7th graders that were part of another iLead school that originally came up with this project and presented it and went through and became finalists and eventually won. And when both of them left the school, but the project was still an iLead passion. So we all took it on in collaboration with the 2 girls that made it and with a few other people that joined on to make the project finally happen and get launched into space.
So that's, again, one of the things that I really like about our schools is we don't focus on competition. So while one school, last year it was only 1 payload. This year we're going to have 3. But while it was only 1, we only had space for 1 experiment. 1 experiment had to be selected. However, we're inclusive with all people. So even if yours is the one selected, and that often happens in science also, by the way, that when one thing is selected, but then you bring in other people to work on it, to help move it forward. And so that happened with coffee. That'll probably happen again with whichever one is selected this next time. But this time we'll have 3 payloads, so there will be more. And I believe, Kathleen, maybe you want to talk about what grade levels, because I love that we also work with the younger students. So we get younger students excited at a young age about doing this, and then continue to be able to be involved and at a deeper level as they get older. So you want to share about that, Kath?
Yeah, thanks. So there's a couple things I want to add in that when we started this out, started working with microgravity experimentation, it can be pretty rigorous. It can, and so it turns out that some programs are really focused on what I would call the sorted and selected. So maybe only the brightest kids do it. So really one of the things that we asked at iLead is how do we make this project accessible to younger kids and then to all kids? So what about kids? Because what we've noticed about space and, these kind of projects is that it reignites the curiosity for people, and especially for kids possibly that aren't maybe space geeks originally, like some of our kids right there, but maybe that have disengaged from school. So we created a curriculum that could reach down to actually 4th and 5th graders all the way up to high school. And so our facilitators are able to take the curriculum and I don't mean water it down, but to make it accessible to younger, as well as make it more rigorous for our high school students, which I think is really brilliant. It makes me so proud of them. So in the finalists, we have some teams that are from 4 or 5, and they'll be assessed on a rubric that is specific to their grade level. So an idea in 4, 5 could be as brilliant as a high school idea.
It's fantastic, and watching you guys mentor younger kids coming up just makes my heart so happy, because to me, that's what it's all about. I'm getting the signal that we're almost done. Do you have any final thoughts? We have about 30 seconds left.
I just want to say that this is such an amazing experience to be in, to bring young people together, to do authentic, real stuff, to really ignite their curiosity and expose them to all the opportunities out there. I'm grateful to be part of this team, grateful to know you guys, Renee, and so proud of those kids right there. So thanks for including me.
And I share your gratefulness and thankfulness to all of you, and just to the community for embracing this and the opportunities that we have. It's time to sign off now, so I'd like to thank Renee for being in studio.
Why do